So the transfer window is now open and we'll be looking to strengthen our team by bringing some more players in. But that is also going to hinge on the fact that we can ship some players out of this club. There's a couple of people we need to get rid of, so we're working on deals to try and ship them out of the club. That being said though, we currently sit second in the table, just behind Liverpool but level on points, as we face a very difficult challenge of Tottenham Hotspur on New Year's Day. A disappointing 0-0 result against Tottenham means we've now slipped to 2 points behind league leaders Liverpool. Leicester come in with a loan offer for McTominay. It's a deal worth a potential 24 million in total. We accept it. Hopefully, this time, he doesn't stick around. More potential movement in the transfer window, as this time Newcastle come in with a £24.5 million bid for Victor Lindelof. He doesn't seem too keen on the move, but hopefully we can persuade him to get him out of the club and bring some valuable money back into the club. The first of hopefully many players out of the door this window, as Juan Mata has joined Benfica in a £300,000 deal. We started off a triple header of cup competitions with the first leg of the semi-finals of the Caribou Cup, which resulted in a 3-2 victory over Tottenham, so we take a narrow lead into the second leg. FA Cup action next as we comfortably dispatch Charlton 4-0 to progress to the next round, which has set up an FA Cup 4th round trip away to QPR. We've made it through to our first final thanks to a 1-1 draw at Tottenham to see off them 4-3 on aggregate as we progress to the Caribou Cup final, which has set us up with a Caribou Cup final date with Brentford, a team that has already shocked us this season by beating us already. We finally say goodbye to Scott McTominay as he completes his loan move to Leicester, which will result in a future transfer at the end of the season. More transfer outs this time as Paul Pogba has agreed to join Barcelona for £19.5 million. Barcelona did try to sign him on a free, but we managed to negotiate a fee for him to put some valuable funds back into the club. The offers keep flying in. This time, Porto have made a bid for Alex Telles, looking to loan him to the end of the season, but it's a deal that we don't turn down, and we accept it. Lindelof rejects Newcastle. What have we got to do to get him out of this club? Back to league action now, as we dispatch Leicester 2-1 at home, thanks to a double from Cristiano Ronaldo. We managed to throw away a 2-goal lead, as Leeds put in a spirited fight back to draw 2-2. We took the lead early on thanks to Varane's header from a corner. We then doubled the lead just before half-time with Sancho's ball into the box to find Naomi, and Ronaldo's shot was put in by Bruno Fernandes. Leeds then fought back as aliens crossed into the box, find an unmarked Harrison at the back post, so make it 2-1. Then Leeds completed the comeback after Calvin Phillips headed home 10 minutes from time. Finally, we might be seeing the back of Victor Lindelof, as this time Atletico Madrid come in for him for £23.5 million, and this time he's looking like he actually might go. We finally managed to make a signing as we brought in Nicola Ravella from Juventus. He's not going to join us till the summer, but we're working on deals to try and bring fresh players into the club that's going to help this team moving forwards. The 20-year-old Italian looks a decent prospect and has bags full of potential. Plenty of business of ins and outs as Eric Bailey seals a move to Shakhtar for £14 million. Lindelof still refuses to leave as he now turns down Atletico Madrid. So, our remaining 2 fixtures of the month of January were wrapped up with a disappointing 2-1 defeat at the hands of Norwich, but then we bounced back in emphatic style as we beat Brentford, who are our Caribou Cup final opponents, 6-1 at Old Trafford. So that now leaves us in the position of second in the table, 1 point behind league leaders Liverpool and 11 points clear of Manchester City in third. Transfer deadline day is upon us, and we're attracting a little bit of interest in a few players. Notably, one of them is Victor Lindelof, so it's all going to depend on if he goes or not, how much business we're going to be able to do in the window. Potentially our only business during the window, but we've signed Fabio Carvalho from Fulham for £18 million. We needed reinforcements in midfield, and this guy is going to do the job. Probably the final piece of our business this window, as we brought in Francesco Conceição. The Portuguese wonderkid from Porto has joined us for a fee of 1.5 million, potentially raising to about 7 million if all conditions of the agreement are met. So a quiet January window has now closed, and the biggest deal of the window was Paul Pogba's departure from ourselves for 19.5 million. The biggest deal on deadline day itself was Aubameyang joining Wolves for £8 million. The month of February starts off with a disappointing shock defeat in the FA Cup 4th round as we slip to a 2-1 defeat at the hands of Queen's Park Rangers. Our FA Cup dream for this season is over. The disappointing results and form continues as we slip to a 1-0 defeat against arch rivals Liverpool. The gap at the top's now widening, it's gone to 4 points and they also have 2 games in hand. Is our title challenge unravelling right before our eyes? Thankfully things start to improve on our away travels, this time in Spain, as we managed to narrowly edge out Villarreal 2-1. Adeyemi gets on the score sheet for the first time in 4 months. And just like that, like you're waiting for a bus, Adeyemi bags another one as we manage to see out Everton 1-0 at Goodison Park. It was final time in the Caribou Cup as we managed to dispatch Brentford 3-1. Some good work between Shaw and Hannibal found Adeyemi in space, who burst forward to slot it home to make it 1-0. Corner by Shaw is found by Inacio to make it 2-0. An Eriksen corner is headed in by Tony to make it 2-1 and a nervy couple of minutes. But thankfully, Shaw's corner again is found by Inacio to bag his brace as we manage to win 3-1. So there it is, our first trophy triumph in the save so far as we lift the Caribou Cup. So with a disappointing form in the league, we now see ourselves 10 points behind league leaders Liverpool and more importantly only 5 points ahead of third place Manchester City. Back to league action now as we comfortably dispatch Leeds United 5-0 at home at Old Trafford. We follow that up with a comfortable away victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers by the scoreline of 3-0. We see off Villarreal in the first round of the knockout stage of the Champions League by beating them 7-3 on aggregate to set up an all-English quarter-final as we take on local rivals Manchester City. Before the international break kicks in, we finish the month of March off with a 3-0 victory over Crystal Palace. The gap's now down to 7 points against league leaders Liverpool, but they still do have a game in hand as we enter the final 8 games of the season. We make it a hat-trick of rewards for March as Adeyemi picks up Player of the Month and Young Player of the Month, and I chip away and pick up another Manager of the Month award, this time for March. We kickstart the month of April off with a 0-0 draw against Arsenal at the Emirates, and our title chances seem to be slipping away quickly. Thankfully though, we fared better in the quarter-finals of the Champions League first leg with a 3-1 victory over arch rivals Manchester City. Sandwiched in between the Champions League games against Manchester City, we managed a 3-0 victory over Burnley at home. The gap's down to 7 points as we enter the final 6 games of the season. Thanks to Liverpool's inconsistency in the last 2 games where they've dropped more points, we're still within a shot. We managed to scrape through just in the Champions League quarter-final after a 3-2 defeat against Manchester City. Thankfully, we go through 5-4 on aggregate. City started off brightly, and after some good play, Walker's long cross into the box was slotted home by De Bruyne. The tie was then levelled up after some good work from the players, and Foden's architecture put a Grealish in to level up the tie. We then took the lead momentarily before the end of the second half thanks to Carvalho's rounding the keeper to slot it home, and we thought we'd won the tie. But John Stones had other ideas as he scores a late equaliser deep into injury time. We then managed to salvage it and win the tie thanks to good work for Carvalho and an absolute screamer from Bruno Fernandes who see us through. That's now set up a triptych Italy to face Inter Milan in the semi-finals. We continue to chase Liverpool down for the title with a fine 4-0 victory against relegation-threatened Brighton. And that was followed up with an emphatic 3-0 victory over European-chasing Aston Villa. The title race is certainly hotting up with only 4 games to go, as the gap is down to 2 points, but Liverpool still do have a game in hand. Back in European action again, as we take a slender 1-0 lead into the second leg of the semi-final against Inter Milan. We finished the month of April off with a 2-0 victory over West Ham. The gap is still only 2 points as we enter the final few games of the season. Liverpool still have that game in hand. Dare we dream of the title? We make it through to our second final of this rebuild so far, as we manage to dispatch Inter 3-0 to qualify for the final of the Champions League, where we have the daunting task of facing Mbappe, Messi and Neymar and company as we face Paris Saint-Germain in the final. We now find ourselves in the position that if we better Liverpool's result, then we will be champions. We've left it tight as it's down to the final game of the season. Liverpool take on Leeds and we travel for Watford. We finish off the season with a 4-0 victory over Watford. But it's not enough, as Liverpool are crowned champions by 2 points. Well, our biggest game of the season is upon us as we take on PSG for the Champions League trophy. So close, yet so far, as Kylian Mbappe breaks our hearts with a goal 7 minutes from time as we lose the Champions League final 1-0. So in all, it's not been a bad first season in charge here at Manchester United in this Youth to Glory series. We managed to finish second in the league, got to a European Cup final, and won the Caribou Cup. So in all, it's not been that bad at all. But we need to improve things. And who do we need to bring in? So drop a like on the video, drop your suggestions on who we need to sign in the comments down below, and I'll take them on board. And we'll continue Youth to Glory, the Manchester United rebuild.